You've got big projects to tackle, but your day gets swallowed up by repetitive tasks and constant inquiries. It's hard to make progress when you're stuck putting out fires. That's where Element 451's AI assistants come in. Acting like an extra set of hands, you get your time back for the high-impact projects. Ready to reclaim your time? Visit element451.com/AI team to learn more.
Welcome to the Hidden Gem podcast, and it's your host, Maya Demishkevich. Today, we are going to dive into a topic that's becoming more and more critical for community colleges, and that's program-specific marketing. If you're working in marketing in higher education, you have likely been asked, can we promote this specific program? And the challenge, of course, is figuring out how to do it effectively with limited resources. Today, we are going to explore how focusing on program specific marketing rather than broad awareness campaigns can actually drive enrollment and help your institution meet students and industry demands. I'm thrilled to welcome Alana Villemez, CEO of Most Likely to Succeed, to the show. Alana has worked with over 100 community colleges, helping them navigate this exact challenge. She'll be sharing her insights on how and when to prioritize programs and the benefits of targeting specific audiences and how to allocate resources wisely. This is a great episode to share with your colleagues and college leadership and program directors. So, together, you can start thinking on the best ways to package and prioritize your programs using different frameworks that we'll go over today. And we'll link them in the show notes below. So, let's get started. Welcome to The Hidden Gem, your go-to podcast that shines a spotlight on the strategic role of marketing and communications in shaping the future of community colleges. I'm your host, Maya Demishkevich, CMO at Carroll Community College. Every week, I sit down with community college leaders and industry experts to unpack strategies that work. We'll discuss practical insights and success stories to help you elevate your institution's profile and achieve your strategic goals. Tune in to amplify your community college's success, one conversation at a time. The Hidden Gem is part of the Enrollify network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher education professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. And let's get started. Welcome back to the Hidden Gem podcast. Today, I am excited to welcome Alana Villemez, who is the CEO of Most Likely to Succeed. Alana has so much experience working with community colleges. I think she worked with over 100 different colleges, which is impressive. And I am looking forward to learning from her about a very, very important topic, program-specific marketing. If you are like me, you probably get questions from program directors or department chairs about, well, can you promote my programs? Or can you do some target outreach for my specific program? I'm sure you get those questions a lot as well. So let's kind of spend some time talking about this and figure out when is program-specific marketing appropriate, how to prioritize programs, how to decide which one gets additional attention, how to manage the limited resources you have to allocate to those initiatives. So, Alana, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Maya. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Since you have a lot of experience, last time we spoke, you mentioned that based on what you have seen, you believe that colleges need to prioritize program marketing over the broad awareness campaigns. Can you tell me a little bit why you think this way, or maybe there's some data that supports your view?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is working with community colleges, specifically on workforce and sometimes what's called strong workforce or economic development campaigns. So how can we get more people into specific trades programs or specific certificate programs, and of course on the general awareness marketing side as well. But there's been a couple things since the pandemic that have really shifted in what people are looking for in their education. I'm sure we all have seen the broad strokes of they want to understand the ROI of their education, they want to understand outcomes, but perhaps more specific to this trend of programs and people looking for maybe 2-year certificates or even micro credentials. There's just been a huge changing student need, and we've seen that in a couple places. The first is National Student Clearinghouse. So since 2021, they've seen a decrease in bachelor degree attainment, a decrease in associate degrees earned, but an increase in what they call certificates earned.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually been pretty significant. So in 2020, there was just a small increase in certificates earned. And then over the last 2 years, or 2 or 3 years, excuse me, with National Student Clearinghouse, there's been a 4% jump in those certificates earned. So we're seeing a lot of people, more people either enroll in those programs and then graduate, and just a high degree of non-degree earners. So folks that are maybe going to college, but they're not obtaining that specific associate's degree or that specific bachelor's degree. And ultimately, I think it points to folks enjoying a shorter stint in college or wanting to get into the workforce a lot faster. So they're
Mm-hmm.
benefiting from going into these short term programs. And perhaps more interesting, what I recently saw for our marketers is actually a shift in what we call search behavior. So someone's looking on Google or Bing or what's the one? Go Duck Go. I can't remember that
Yeah,
one.
duck, duck, go, duck,
Yeah, DuckDuckGo. I
duck, duck, go.
always yeah, DuckDuckGo. GoDuckGo was not the right one for that. But anyway, we're seeing a lot more people instead of looking for things like Harvard or USC or UCLA, they're actually searching for programs first. And this came out of a report from Education Dynamics, so I want to give them some credit. And they actually talked about this on another Enrollify podcast, which is how I found it. But anyway, from that report, what they're talking about or what they're seeing is that a lot of people are searching first for a program and they're generally open to whatever college has that program that they may be interested in. So it's not nearly the same as someone searching now for those big college names by what we call
Mm-hmm.
brand names. They're looking for equestrian program near me. This is my one of my cousins. She was looking for equestrian vet program and she found one at her local community college that is very niche. It's the only one on the West Coast, is what she told me. So people are getting really niche into what that career is going to look like, which makes me think, well, we really need to be focusing on this. Otherwise, we're going to lose a lot of students who maybe are looking into one, a specific program, or two, a shorter term career, like you said. Has
Mm-hmm.
that been your experience too, Maya? What you've seen?
I would say it was my experience, especially if we're talking about adult learners. So somebody who might be 25 and older, maybe had experience working and are not satisfied with where they are now, looking for different opportunities.
Right.
They might know themselves better at this point and they know their interests and they might be searching for a specific program. But what I see with high school age students, many of them are coming undecided. So they're not quite sure where they want to go, what is the right degree path for them. So they come to community college to explore. And they usually change their majors a couple of times, which is totally okay because
Mhm.
that's the time to kind of find yourself and explore those options. But they're not necessarily searching for specific programs. So I'm curious, was there an age range to the data you're talking about? Was it specific to adults?
Not necessarily. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't necessarily specific to adults. However, I do think that's very true if we look at who we are serving in our communities. There's been a lot of talk about the absence of adult learners in a college pipeline or that
Mm-hmm.
are coming into the community college and then transferring into a bachelor's degree program. And that's been a huge topic over the last 4 or 5 years, I would even argue. and perhaps even beyond that, but especially during the pandemic. So yes, you're totally right. Those adult students are coming in looking for a very specific program, or they've already experienced the workforce, or maybe they didn't go to school right away after high school. They just went straight into the workforce. And now they're trying to hone in on their skills, either to move up in that middle management or gain additional skills that will get them a promotion, or their employer sometimes is even sending them to
Mm-hmm.
training specifically. So there's a lot of different avenues those adult learners can take compared to high school students. You're totally right.
Right. And I'm thinking about high school students now that there are different types of high school students. Those who come to community colleges are the ones who might be undecided. But those
Mhm.
who do know what they want, I'm sure they're searching for specific program names, right? So
Yes.
it's just different audiences who comes to us and who might be going somewhere else.
Exactly, and I've seen a couple articles too, Gen Z and going into trade programs specifically. So I think if potentially they're more interested, however you want to call it, career education, trades, strong workforce, they're going into things like HVAC or manufacturing or welding that they know they're going to have a career on the other side of it. Maybe they can leap off of that career into something else if they want to further in their adult life. So that would be that traditional age student that would be looking at that.
And when you talk about program specific marketing, do you think it should be kind of like a rule? Every program should be marketed on their own, or other exceptions, other times or situations where you wouldn't want to promote a specific program?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. It depends on the industry. So I'm sure folks listening that are at community colleges, we tend to group things by industry. And then within that industry cluster, there are specific programs. So
Hmm.
manufacturing, there could be things like HVAC or electrician or logistics in some cases. And those industries don't necessarily translate in the same way to the individual students. So sometimes what we like to do is maybe look at a specific industry cluster and say, we're going to market this industry. What are the specific programs within it? And so, how can we differentiate between the different programs? Because someone who's a logistics manager in manufacturing is not going to have the same experience as someone who is an electrician. They're pretty different jobs, you're using
Hmm.
different skills. So, typically, you'd look at one, the major industry cluster, and then two, exactly what you said, how can we actually focus in on this specific program at our college that's going to lead into a pipeline? So people have done it both ways. It just really depends on your resource capacity and what that alignment looks like at the college. If you're going to market industry as a whole and then get more specific about the program leader in that marketing funnel,
Hmm.
or if you're going to start with the program first. And we do see a lot of success either way, but typically starting with the program first is where you're going to see faster conversions, faster folks actually enrolling in that program just because you're getting right to the point. So depends on what your goal really is for that industry or that specific program. I hope that
Right.
helps a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it does. I'm glad you said this because I think given the resources we have, it's unfeasible for us to market every program specifically. So, what we
Yep.
usually do, like you said, we do cluster them by area of study or industry. So it does make sense. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad we clarified because it's an important point. Once the institution says, okay, yes, we do want to maybe focus on program specific marketing, what are the steps they need to take and how can they prioritize those programs? Because it's impossible to do them all. And then some program directors might feel left out if their program is not prioritized. So, how do you address those people? So, can you walk us through maybe a process you suggest here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've hit a couple of the challenges that community college marketers especially experience in marketing programs. It's the internal coordination. So,
Hmm.
um, if a program isn't necessarily called out for promotion, it comes down the line to the marketer. And we're not necessarily the authority on that program to say, right, this is the program that needs to be promoted and this is why. So it becomes almost an arm wrestle between the faculty and the marketer. as you kind of alluded to. And then the second one is really the ownership over who gets folks enrolled in that program. So you and I have kind of chatted about this, that in other industries like tech, they have a program success manager, a program marketer, and then an engineer. And in that circumstance, the faculty is like the engineer, the community college marketer is the marketer, and we're missing this middle role. That's kind of this program success manager who's maybe looking at how many people engage with our app, how many new signups are we getting. They're doing all this analytic work on the program itself. And really in that process, it's no one's fault, but there's a limited ownership over what actually happens. How do these programs get prioritized without these specific roles? And the marketers are sometimes left in the middle of that trying to sort it out. So I like to base everything off of a framework. I got this from a negotiating book. It's great if you haven't read it. It's called Getting to Yes. And he's an FBI negotiator. And so what he does is he tries to figure out a common ground, right? And so in the case of marketers or honestly any other professional, it's good to find a framework you can use to say, okay, are we both agreeing this is how things should happen? Here's the framework we're going to make it happen, instead of someone coming and saying this should happen and the other person saying, well, I don't have the resources for that. So it doesn't leave us with a really balanced solution. So in this case, for community college marketers, the framework I like to use is a product lifecycle. And this also comes from tech. And really the product lifecycle follows some key phases. So you and I were laughing because it does start with introduction, but we said there should be pre-introduction here. So in the case of programs, there's kind of this pre-introduction phase where people are coming up with what the program's going to be, what needs it's going to serve in the community. And then there's the introductory phase where you're just trying to get students into the program itself, building that top of the funnel awareness that, hey, we have a new program or this program is available. And at a certain point past introduction, that program goes into a growth phase. You're getting traction in who's coming into the program. You're able to, as we lovingly call, put butts in seats. So people are enrolling, they're staying, they're graduating. And then at some point, the program reaches maturity. And these are programs you can think of very easily, like in nursing. There's always a demand for nursing. There's always going to be kind of this buzz around nursing that students are coming into the program. And then finally decline, that product or that program has kind of a wane in who is actually enrolling in it. It might have gone from this mature phase where a lot of students were interested, and then all of a sudden there's some sort of drop. So putting your programs or even framing it in this way is helpful for community college marketers, because we're able to say, okay, where is this program really on this product life cycle? So, and which programs do we prioritize? That's the main question we're trying to answer by mapping this out. So you can see exactly where the program is and which ones are going to require maybe a little bit more work, like the introductory growth phase is always going to require more marketing work, more building up that top of the funnel than when that program has reached maturity, for instance. I think it's funny, sometimes people really want to promote nursing, but they're often very impacted in their enrollment. So it's a little bit of a different problem simply because that program has reached maturity. So that's a framework I like to use with colleges just to get and hone in on, okay, which programs do we even prioritize to go to market? It's an easy framework for that.
So based on that life cycle, where do you suggest they prioritize? So new programs in the beginning?
Yep, absolutely. So the new programs are going to be where the most time, the most energy, the most resources go into for a community college. It's going to be in that introduction phase and then that growth phase for the program. So introduction is just getting the word out, getting awareness around the program, all the materials you have to create, usually for the first time if they haven't existed already. And once it's in growth, you have a little bit more to work with because you've had either a student cohort or a group of students in the program now you can go back to get their testimonials for. So it's always going to be an uphill battle. And I'll include some pictures too, but it is a slope, right? You're building all the way up to this maturity point. So it's just like pushing a boulder uphill at that point for most community college marketers.
Let's say you have several programs at a maturity state. How do you decide between those programs which ones to prioritize?
Absolutely. That's a good question. So it depends how many seats you have available for those programs. So in that case, you'd be looking at of these programs that are in this maturity phase, which ones have we seen that have shown dips in enrollments? And really, you have to partner with your IR or whoever's in charge of data and looking at those enrollment numbers on campus. So this is a very collaborative effort. You can't really do it on your own in a
Hmm.
silo. Um, but you'd be looking at, okay, of these 10 programs that are in maturity, which ones have we seen have a decline in enrollment and which ones are still in need in our community? Those are the two things you're mainly looking at.
Okay, great. Thank you for your answer on this one. Let's say the college has prioritized the programs. So, what are the strategies they can use to package those programs more effectively and to market them to prospective students?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this comes down to a little bit of what you and I were chatting about is determining what the unique benefits of the program
Hmm.
is because marketers have so many things on their plate. We are not necessarily the program expert. Yes, we have a certain amount of knowledge and a certain amount of understanding about the program, but we're not in that program every day. We haven't taken the program ourselves. We're not a student in it. And so we're really trying to understand what makes the program unique and tie that back to all of the larger brand awareness campaigns we have to run on campus, right? So, really, what we're looking at here is using a different framework, taking it through from that prioritized stage, which I call the community college mission framework. And this is from me, my brain. Woohoo! That's always exciting. But it basically breaks the mission pillars of the community college into four areas. And the goal of using it is to determine, okay, in this circumstance, what from these four pillars can we draw from for a unique message? The first one is quality education. The second one is accessibility or inclusive culture. The third is comprehensive support. And then the fourth is career outcomes. So of these four pillars, we can draw on certain things. So you might have already been tying these together, but quality education, we might point to our expert faculty, or outcomes, we might point to a salary increase or the average student salary for those who graduate. Inclusive culture is we accept everyone, we have financial aid available. And then that support may be more on the student services side or career placement. So they all kind of overlap in this Venn diagram of what makes up the community college mission. Long story short, it makes it a lot easier going through these pillars with a faculty or program specialist or someone who really understands that program and just listing out a couple questions for them. So, what are some things that we've seen in industry that help make students successful going through our program? What kind of resources do you have available within this program that are unique to the program? What do students experience? Are they included? Are there clubs for the student to join on campus if they come into the program? Things like that. So it really just draws upon us being able to ask really great questions as marketers to those program faculty or those put in charge of program success so we can find what that unique benefit is. I think you were telling me, Maya, you have like a checklist or something you give to faculty. Did you have anything to add to that? Or what does that look like for you?
For this particular one, we do have a creative brief that we usually use to launch a new program where a lot
Right.
of those questions are being asked. But it almost feels like those questions should be asked during the pre-introduction phase, right? Not right before the program launches.
Yep.
So you have enough information to package it and to make sure all the benefits are clear to your prospective audience. I have another checklist, and we might get to this too, but it's more about getting program directors buy-in in the marketing process.
Hmm.
Um, so kind of getting this shared responsibility. So it's not just the marketer's job to go there and increase awareness, but program directors also have a role to play in this. And very often they can serve as subject matter experts. They can make connection to alumni or current students so we can collect those testimonials. So we have this checklist on what they can do to help us and them promote the program. And it could include like taking flyers that we've already created and putting them in appropriate places in the community. Or if they go to events, taking their brochure with them, or email templates that they can use to send out emails. So we give them steps that they can also take to help
Mm-hmm.
promote the program. I also like to package programs by interest. So one thing we recently did was specifically targeting adults. We know that adults care about time to completion, the cost of the program, and they want to be able to get a job right away once they graduate. So what
Right.
we did is we looked at what are the career programs that have short time to completion and have high demand in our particular area, like location. And then we packaged those programs and we promoted them as a package to say, hey, if you're looking to get a job within 8 weeks to 2 years, these are the programs for you to take because they have high unemployment rates in this
Mm-hmm.
particular area. Organizations and companies are looking for talent in this particular fields. The salaries are high, so consider taking those programs. So again, it's not so much program marketing, but it's packaging a set of programs to present to prospective audiences.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm happy I asked that question. You were able to share because that's exactly it. You're looking for, okay, if an adult student is interested in these programs, what about our education is going to be exciting to them? Well, we have a
Mhm,
direct pipeline to employers. Okay, what about the environment is going to be excited for them, our culture? Well, we have short-term classes. You don't have to
mhm,
go for this specific amount of time. And I think what you said about how it's packaged is so important for thinking of the student first and taking them through that journey. Yes, these might be tools internally we have to do to kind of massage it, but as a marketer, you're always bringing it back to, okay, who are we trying to bring in and what are they interested in? And this mission pillar framework is just to do exactly that. What are
mhm.
going to be the things that this particular student audience is going to be interested in? So I think that's great. And it's been successful for you so far.
Yeah, yeah. We have seen good results from this particular campaign. I'm
Good.
curious, do you know or do you have any examples of community colleges who are doing a great job with kind of balancing program specific marketing with brand awareness? Because I do believe there needs to be a combination of both, right? Because we can't just do program specific marketing. So, do
Yep.
you have any examples?
Yeah, I think the one that comes to mind for me is I'm going to butcher their name. They're going to call me up and say, Alana, you messed this up. But it's Holyoke, and it might be Holyoke, but it's Holyoke.
Hmm. In
And
Honolulu, right?
no, they're not in
No, in
Honolulu.
Hawaii. They're in
They're
Hawaii.
not in Hawaii. They're in Massachusetts. And they're a
Oh.
public 2-year college. Yeah, it might be a different origin of the name, but they do a superb job at program marketing. And I know this because I was looking into taking some data visualization courses. So I love data and I have a degree in communications marketing and I wanted to expand that and look
Mhm.
at data courses maybe to expand how I code and look into Python. Well, I looked at a couple colleges and it was rough, Maya. It was like Python 101, you will be coding all your life. I do not like the coding element. I like the how do I visualize this and tell a story with the data? And yes, coding is a part of that. Anyway, on this search, Holyoke was one of the ones that came up. And when I was searching for data visualization or data storytelling programs, and they hadn't necessarily done anything differently. They were the same classes, but the way that they had packaged this particular group of classes was as a data visualization or data storytelling instead of calling it coding 101 or Python
Mhm.
101 or
Mhm.
data science. And so I ended up filling out an online referral form and I was living in Korea at the time. So this shows you I was not in Massachusetts. They just had this program search available because I looked up data visual community colleges and ended up calling me immediately. And then a year later called me again and said, "Are you still interested in this program?" So they had kept whatever inquiry list that was and followed up with the students. And I see you smiling. it
Mhm.
also made me smile because part of it was, yes, I'm interested in the program. At that point, I had actually gone another route with what I was looking to do. I did not enroll. However, I thought it was an incredibly smart strategy that they had the right packaging. They had this inquiry form you could reach out to. Someone called me right away. And then a year later, I get a call like, are you
Mhm.
interested? And they were so polite on the phone. Anyway, I think there's a lot of colleges you could point to that are doing great things like this. This is just a personal example because one, I was curious, two, I was looking at that program, and I thought it was a great way that they had actually captured that.
Mhm.
But there are other groups, like of course where you are, and I worked with a couple colleges in New York where they actually grouped these efforts together to market an industry or program. So a lot of college districts or consortiums will look at doing that. And really, their success is based off of okay, of all of our colleges, all three, all four, five, six, what are the programs that are missing students across all
Mhm.
three of us? Can we pool our resources together and make this effort more impactful? So, those are a couple of examples of folks that I've seen either be able to overcome this resource burden, or they have a really great package and really great follow up system for their program marketing or marketing those programs and packaging them really nicely.
Mhm. That's a good example. And while you were talking, it made me think that many colleges now also package credit and non credit programs as well. And I think there is a lot of efficiencies in doing
Yes.
so. So if you are not currently cross promoting your programs, I think now is the time to do it because
Yes.
a lot of people might be looking for a degree, but then they see something else that's shorter, quicker, and they might start there and then potentially transfer to an associate degree program. Since we started talking a little bit about different channels, and you mentioned that when you were searching for this particular certificate or program in data visualization, you used search, right?
Yep.
So I think it's also important to consider which channels you use to promote specific programs, right? In your experience, what are the most effective channels for doing so?
Yeah, that's a good question. And community colleges already have so many channels and tactics that they're on because it's a necessity, right, to any
Hmm.
marketing plan. And so the way I like to think about it is through what is called a peso model. And it's from a company called SpinSuck. So I want to credit them, but they use this peso model of paid, earned, owned, shared media. And really, what we're looking at with community colleges, they already have paid media, they're doing digital advertising. They likely already have owned media, like your website or your campaign landing pages. They already have shared media, that's social media and video, and they already have earned media. So, this is any PR you have going on, student success stories, anytime you're featured in the newspaper. So you can really leverage those activities you probably already have going on to promote these programs if you're already doing this from a brand awareness or brand building area. And this is what I tell colleges I work with is you really want to start with pay-per-click. You likely already have a pay-per-click campaign going on where you're just picking out those programs that you've already prioritized. You figured out some of the messaging, and you can just add that into your pay per click campaign. So you can run it on semester by semester stints where maybe you're promoting manufacturing and you list out all the programs. So, manufacturing program near me, manufacturing community college, data visualization near me, data visualization affordable, things like that. And whoever you're working with on that media will be able to help you hone in on those keywords specifically. But that's a really easy way to do it. And the second would be in any video you have. So for a lot of these industries, like manufacturing is the one that really comes to mind. That's a huge need in the US. And in individual communities, we find it's hard to recruit students into those programs, showing that it's no longer, and I'm going to use air quotes here, but dirty work is
Hmm.
how people typically visualize it, right? They think of people in a warehouse and they're wearing coveralls and they have oil and grease all over them. And it's not incredibly appealing sometimes, but that's not the reality of manufacturing today. You're working in a clean warehouse, you're often working on specific tools or machinery that's not dirty and greasy. They've optimized it. It's robots. It's managing the robots. Anyway, so really visualizing that through video is going to be key to re-establishing what that program actually includes in it. So you've got things already on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. You don't even have to have high production. You could just go talk to a faculty member there, or you could even just use pictures, to be truthful with you, of putting them together in a slideshow of all the different programs you offer in one particular industry with their salaries listed. Make it super easy on yourself and don't overthink it too much. They're not looking for anything crazy. Those that are looking for these programs, they just want to know what's offered. What am I going to make? It's pretty simple. So those are the biggest channels to look at to just maximize what you already got going on.
These are great suggestions. It has been a very good conversation. I really enjoyed it. And I appreciate you sharing so many great frameworks. I'm sure we'll include some in show notes so people can reference later. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wanted to add that you feel is important for people to know?
This is the last thing, and you and I chatted about this, is if you have a program marketing success, often what we talked about in the beginning, the buy-in of how we market the program and how we go about it. One, using the frameworks will help because you're creating visuals for people that they tend to remember more than a written document. But the second thing is if you have a program marketing success and you can point to that, create your own internal marketing case studies. So you can kind of leverage that expertise as the marketer to other faculty or VPs that are coming to you asking for this service, so to speak, or asking for help in the marketing realm and outreach realm, where you can say, well, we did this for this program. We followed this process and it worked out really well. We saw this many enrollments. So make sure you're coming back to that internal communication side to ensure that you have that credibility with whoever you're speaking to next, and you don't have to pull teeth, so to speak, to get these programs out to market. Folks can feel comfortable knowing you have a set process and a way to go about it.
That's some excellent advice. I'm sure many of the marketing programs can benefit from additional credibility.
Always.
Yes. So, Alana, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me, and thanks again.
Thanks so much, Maya, and go market those programs.
Yes. I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it valuable. Let's keep this conversation going on LinkedIn at Maya Demishkevich. I would love to hear your thoughts, questions, and suggestions for what you would like to see next on this podcast. Remember, by tuning in to The Hidden Gem, you are not just listening to a podcast. You are joining a movement of amplifying community colleges' success. Don't miss out. Subscribe to this podcast and notifications about our future episodes. Share it with your colleagues and college leaders to help make our colleges stand out. Together, let's make an impact. The Hidden Gem is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you will like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher education technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our shows help higher ed marketers and admissions professionals find their next big idea and feature selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Jamie Hunt, Jenny Fowler, Eddie Francis, Brian Gross, and so many other of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.